once again, our materials today are going to be just paper and crayon, unless of course you have anything else in your area. So we can get started. And I can tell you that the inspiration for this piece right here started out as oh gosh, it's a very famous wave print. And I always forget the name. It's terrible of me to do that, but let me show you the example. So it started off with, I was hoping somebody would would remember. Let me show you. I believe the artist's name is, what was it? I know it's called The Great Wave of Kanagawa. Hokusai. Hokusai is the artist's name. I can't believe I always forget that. So let me share my screen really quickly, just so you guys can see it, just in case you don't know. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Can you guys see the wave? It's a very famous piece.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So that's Hokusai's wave. The Great Wave of Kanagawa. So really all I did was take the wave and I made it my own. That's all I did. So just the wave, just the more abstract version of the little wave, the little white portions right there. And that's about it. So let me also show you what else served as the inspiration. Let me see. I have to find it. So glass mosaic tiles. That was the other inspiration. So I just sort of mashed these two ideas, the painting and glass tiles together. That's all I did and made it my own. So just in general, glass mosaic tiles. So you can kind of see where that comes from. So that's how I created the sky portion. So I want you guys to be able to use whatever colors you have that you want to use for the sky, for the wave. Of course, whatever blues you have or purples you have will work perfectly fine. I'm actually going to spotlight my picture now. That way we can get started. And I know that like these two ideas don't really seem like they might come together, but I want you guys to take this idea and make it your own. I am going to show you guys how to draw it, how to draw the wave yourself. Before we do that, let's go ahead and take our colors out and let's set them aside. So for mine, I use two different kinds of blues and a purple. But like I said, if you want to just use one blue, that's absolutely fine as well. So two blues and a purple. I have a whole bag of crayons here, so I don't want to take too much time to dig through everything. So I found like a blue-green and a cerulean and cornflower. I probably will not use the purple. Well, actually, now that I found plum, I kind of want to use plum. Maybe I'll just set that aside. We don't have to bring out we don't have to decide on the sky colors just yet. You can kind of think about that if you want to right now. I just sort of decided to use sunset colors. So that's just kind of what I chose. So just the yellow, orange, and red for the sky. But if you have other ideas, then please, of course, by all means, do that. And like I mentioned earlier, I will be drawing out the waves. So the first portion will consist of a little drawing lesson. Here we go. Now it's spotlighted. We are good. Give you guys another moment to do that. Gather your materials. I have my paper here. And at least for now, I always like to sort of start to draw using my finger. That helps me to really visualize where my marks are going to be going. So if I were to maybe start my wave here, or maybe like in the middle, maybe start this portion of the wave here, maybe curl it a little bit, wave, curl, kind of like that, kind of like a C shape actually. You guys see what I'm saying? C shape. C shape with a little squiggle at the bottom. That's what I'm aiming to do. C shape with a squiggle. And then after that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make a curve. Now, notice how this curve is made out of wavy lines here. If you just press down lightly with your crayon, the wavy line will disappear and we can go over it again with darker squiggles. So once again, I can trace it out with my finger. Another idea, which for whatever reason I never think of, another idea is to start with a pencil. So pencil works too. I always just like to dive right into things, which is why I never think of a pencil. I feel like it keeps me on my toes personally. So you are more than welcome to use a pencil. However, press down lightly and then erase your marks later. Just partially erase them later. That's what I recommend. So C shape, squiggle down. So let me start with one of my blues. Maybe I'll start with cornflower. See what happens there. Right in the middle here. Because I do want plenty of space for my sky, but also plenty of space for my water as well. Right in the middle, a big C and a squiggle, like that. Now, see this portion here? This is much more elongated. It's much more of a longer line than what I have right here. So I'm just going to stretch it some more. So I've stretched it. And now I'd like to make this portion right here. So once again, I'm going to use my finger. It's going to come like this. Can have a nice big arch. You can start at the edge here, or at the point here, or you can start at the edge out here. It's completely whatever you feel comfortable doing. Stretch it out. It'll get there. Do you guys notice this line here, which is actually what I drew right here? This line here, I can take that same line and create this portion of the wave, the one that comes out down here. So this portion, it's going to stretch almost to the corner down here, almost. Can't really see it too well. There we go. It's going to stretch pretty far down there. So what I can do again is once again take my finger and make it come down and stretch down here. So I already have this line. I'm just going to bring it down, make it go to the edge. It's not really as, what's the word, thin as what I have right here. It's a little more thick, but that's okay. One of the things about art is that it's very difficult to recreate the same thing again and again. So what I did, just to repeat myself, what I did was I took that elongated portion that I added at the end there, and I stretched it backwards towards the edge, gave it plenty of space down here. Hope that's okay. Now, all these little little wavy lines out here. We'll add those later. Let's focus a little bit more on the drawing aspect. Now, I started off relatively easy. What happened was I started off at this line and I curved it into my wave like this. All of my C shapes that come underneath this wave, they all meet to a point right here. They all meet this line somewhere. So you can see this one here, this one here, this one here. It all started off with one line, all met up with this line. Same thing with this one, same thing with this one. And I'm not even going to count how many lines that is. I just want you guys to be able to fit in as many of these elongated C shapes as you can. Don't worry about making them thicker. In fact, think of these thicker areas as a safety net. That's more of a safety net than anything. Because if you happen to make a little C shape that you don't quite agree with so much, just make it thicker. It's all right. So let me start maybe about next to my C shape. Start here, and I know that I want it to meet this line somewhere over here. Make it curve into there. It just sort of gradually started to meet this line. And then the next one, I'm gonna allow it, gonna make another one next to it. Doesn't have to be spaced out nicely. Going to meet the same line. I didn't really make it to the same point, but that's okay. It's in the general vicinity, so still counts. It's in the general vicinity. That's what we want. And again, let's say I accidentally started a little close. Once again, it's going to meet in the same general vicinity. Because again, all of these lines, we're going to thicken them up. We're going to make them much thicker. And again, I'm going to make another one. Think of it as having lots of practice. Keep going, and whoops, I made it a little bit wide, and that's okay. Do I have any questions so far? Cool. You guys are awesome. Keep going. So let's see. I went down pretty far in this one, like right up to here. But again, I'm not really gonna count that too much. And honestly, I can probably keep on making these elongated C shapes. So at some point, we'll have to move on to another line. But if you happen to love making those shapes, then that's okay. Keep going. You know, the inspiration for this was a mosaic, but I'm looking at it now and it's kind of like a reverse mosaic. Like as if these are not painted in any color. These are supposed to be white if that was the case, or black if that was the case. But it's kind of the opposite now that I think about it. Just an observation, not important. So at some point, I went and I added, actually, I think I know what I did. I added this one, but I made it veer off. I didn't actually let it join in with the rest of them. And in fact, these lines here, I added these later, but you know, you can always add them in now if you want to. So this one right here, this is what I added next. And this became the next wavy line down here. So what I can do is start up here, of course, using my finger and sort of trace out that wave like this. Start here and ta-da, trace that wave. And you can move on to the next color. If you happen to have a next color, this would be a good point to move on into that next color. That's if you wanted to use another one. So which of these colors should I use? I don't really know which one I like. I kind of like that first one. Little crayon testing. Okay, so the next ones are gonna basically be drawn in a very similar way. So the next line, I think I tried to follow along with this line, but it didn't really work out so well. But it turned out pretty nicely anyway. Next one was a much nicer line after that. I only thickened it up later. For now, it can just live as a line. It can be a line later. And then after that, this one sort of veered off down to the bottom. And can start off this way. We're just making a bunch of lines that represent our waves. Any other lines, you can add those in at any point. Like say, maybe I wanted to add another line right here. I can take my second color and I can just go back in, try to follow along as best as I can. But if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Say maybe I want to, after adding that one, maybe I want to add another one using that first color, my first blue. Can always do that as well. And I can keep on doing this for a while if I wanted to. Not saying that you have to though. Now I happen to have a little corner right down here that I feel would do very well with a partial wave. So I'm just going to add that. And there we have it. You guys doing okay on the wave? If anybody ever wants me to take a look at their artwork, if you have any questions, please just let me know. You guys are awesome. You guys are rock stars at this. Give you guys a minute or two. We'll get to color them in. We can probably do that now, actually. Well, after you guys finish. And just in case you don't remember, I did not add in any purple. I kind of wanted to stick with blue. But if you want to add purple, you can certainly do that at any point. We can probably start to add the wavy portion of our lines out here. Now that's the most fun part, in my opinion. So I will actually start off with my first blue. So this portion out here, all I'm going to do is move along, going undulating in and around, in and out of my very first line. Gonna bring it back in, bring it back up, undulate in and out, crossing these lines in and out. Totally okay to cross the lines. I had to go off the edge a little bit over here. That's just how it is. Now, these lines are a lot more careful than these lines. So next time around, I'm gonna not really pay so much attention. If you wanted to go again with the same color, or even if this is with a different color, the second time you go around and do those waves, try to pay attention, at least as much as you can. Try to pay attention to the fact, or to where they undulate in or out around the line. That way you can do the opposite, like that. And of course, it's never going to be perfect. In fact, I already lost track. The idea is just to at least partially do that. In fact, I'm not even gonna try to mess with this portion here. It's just gonna do what it's gonna do at this point. As long as they're waves, we're good. See that? I was definitely a lot less careful down here second time around. But that's the point. It looks so much nicer. And of course, they're waves. So because of that, you're not going to have equal amounts of anything. You're not going to have equal lines. You're not going to have completely nice lines throughout. So it's all part of the plan. Whenever you're ready, you can move on to your second color, which I think was this one. Second color, make some waves around here too. And I did not do this next thing in this picture, but I thought it might be kind of nice to have a few dots here and there, just to represent those splashes, those tiny splashes of water. Of course, if you don't like the dots, then please don't do this part. But I thought it might look kind of nice with little crayon dots inside the wave, around the wave. Because again, this original one does not have those dots. But I kind of wanted some. So we'll start off with our very first color and thicken these lines up here. We'll just sort of move down the line of C's and start to thicken up these lines a little bit. And then later we'll add a little bit of our second color within this same area. So what I mean by that is I am sort of flinging my crayon outward and downward a little bit. It's mostly going to be thicker lines up at the top up here. And I did that because the wave is supposed to be darker on the inside. It's supposed to be darker on the inside of that curve. So because of that, I'm going to want to, at least for the most part, start off with my color inside here. It'll probably morph into something else later, but for now, mostly darker on the inside and kind of starting to make these lines just overall a little bit thicker by adding more crayon on top of it. So the topmost area up here, starting at each of those lines, that's going to be thicker. It's going to get a little less thick as you go down the C shape. Hope that all makes sense. Like so, just keep on going. I kind of like this blue for the wave. Kind of wish I'd started with this one. So I'm starting at the top, working my way downward. Cool. I know I always say this, but feel free to put some music on in the background while you're doing this part. Always. Now for me, I'm kind of nearing the end of my general C shapes. So I think at this point, I'm probably just going to end up making these lines, or some lines, maybe not all of them, making some of them a little bit thicker. And in fact, if you wanted to make some portions of the line thicker and some thinner, like keep some of them thinner, you can certainly do that too. So here's an example, this line here. You can see it reaches from here, stretches all the way out here. It's very thin right here, but over on either side, it's gotten pretty thick. Same thing with this one here, actually, is pretty thin here. Gets a little thicker right here. So it just depends on you. I do recommend keeping maybe these upper undulations, the upper portions, maybe keep those thin. And then the downward slope, on that downward slope, maybe making those a little bit thicker. That's just my recommendation. Hope that makes a little sense. So right here, I would probably keep this thin, but maybe thicken up over here, this side. And then just kind of have it meet this portion here. Those downward undulations will be thicker. So then maybe if I'm looking at this line, this part's going to be thin, but down here can be a little bit thicker. Just play around with it. See what makes you happy. It's always the best that you can do for any of these art projects. It's just play around with it. And if you like the way it looks, then keep on doing it. And if not, then that's okay. Don't do it. Or at least maybe for next time, don't do it again. Bless you.
All right.
You're good. My gosh, you guys, like the fatigue today was terrible for me. I think it was my allergies that caused it. I don't know. But it was horrible. The sneeze just reminded me that there's so much oak pollen everywhere. So I'm actually going to move on to my second color. It'll be a little bit darker for you guys to see. So let's see. I can just maybe start off by thickening up some lines, especially down here. And maybe I want to keep this part a little bit more thin. Just little by little, thicken it up. Now that was an accident. I didn't mean to stretch it this much. Oh well, just gonna go with it. One of these days, I'm gonna do a crayon resist project, especially since Susie got her new watercolors. I'd love for you to be able to use them.
Yay.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. Let's see, down here, I'm gonna make this a little thicker. Now here's something you can do really at any point, honestly. See how I have two of the blues here, and I mentioned it earlier, but my second blue, I'm going to start to darken up some of these lines. So I'm going to take that second blue and I'm going to go over some of these portions up here. So you can do that at any time. Because again, this area is supposed to be pretty dark, at least up here. So I'm going to start off pretty lightly. Maybe just streak a little bit of that blue first. See how I like it. Maybe back here I can put a lot of that blue, since it is the furthest portion back, especially over here. Maybe I'll ease up a little bit the further or the closer I get to the forefront. Now I kind of feel like, this is just me, but I kind of feel like I need to put kind of a lot up here, just kind of press down lightly. I'm just pressing down lightly, not really putting too much. Certainly not making too dark, or certainly not making it too dark. And it's completely up to you, but you don't have to follow along and put this darker blue or your second blue in every single line. Because at least for me, this is a darker blue. So it's going to make everything so much heavier, visually at least. So I don't think that I want to. And that's just a choice that I've made because of the nature of the colors that I chose. There, I've added a few strokes there. Maybe for me, I can come back and maybe thicken these edges over here. Do kind of like that. At any point, you can add extra lines too. I know I mentioned that earlier, but you know, it's something that you can add and do at any time. There's no right or wrong way to do anything here. Let me fix that. Okay, cool. Fix that. can't wait to get started on the sunset. Just kind of, well, sunset, I mean sky. Can't wait to get started on the sky. And for you, you can have more or less lines than what I have here. Just so you know. And I'm thinking that I might even take it a little further, and I might actually want to color inside the lines. Yeah, I think I will. I think I kind of like the idea of all this being very colorful. There we go. I wanted to ask you, Merle, those the lines that the project where you the last project you showed us with all the lines, did you use marker on that or did you use something else?
Well, I start with oil pastel, but it doesn't look good in the black canvas, and then I use metallic markers.
Okay. I was wondering about that because the colors are so bright. They really show up so well. I love it.
Yes, it's once I bought an eBay from China, and they are thick and thin. So, and they are very strong. The bright is very strong, the ink. So that's I like. Yeah.
Interesting. I've been wanting to get into oil pastels and I just haven't done it yet. So I don't really know what brands are good, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't use it for longer. So I said, oh, I have it there. So I need to make some, put it to work. But I'm using an oil pastel. Good in dark canvas and in black canvas. So I think I want to try in the white ones. So.
Yeah. Tony just said that she's using an oil pastel right now.
Yeah, Portfolio is a good brand.
Okay. I feel like I've seen Portfolio. Would it stand up? Like, would it stand out on a black canvas or like a black surface?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Super cool.
Oh, cool.
Nice. And so, Merle, for your other projects, the one, the 4 pieces, four pieces, was that with marker?
No, it was acrylic pencil.
Okay. That must have been nice.
Markers. Yeah.
Okay. Acrylic markers. That makes sense now. Because I saw the texture of the canvas board. So I was wondering like what you use for it.
Actually, some thick markers, it works good in canvas because I use it before markers. So regular ones, but the thick ones.
Okay, the thick ones.
In canvas.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yes, because I did a lot of projects with regular markets. So yeah.
Okay, you did so well with the lines. I had to ask.
Yeah. So I put the 4 pieces together with a ruler and make the lines. But I said, I don't want to put it this in different color for each. I want to get mixes. So that's I did part of the end and the other canvas. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Man, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm really not sometimes. So and make my drawings.
Did you say you're really nuts sometimes? That's great. Aren't we all?
Yeah, all the artists, right?
Right? Every single person in this room, just a little bit nuts. So how's everyone doing with your lines? You guys okay?
Yeah.
See people, cool. See people still working. I might actually jump into the sky now, start doing the sky. I forgot to look for my colors, so I'm gonna do that. Honestly, do I still want it to be sunset? Yeah, I think I still want it to be sunset. I think I'll stick with that. Maybe like when the sky is much more of a deeper version of sunset colors. I don't know. Like I just want to use this plum color. That's really what I'm aiming for. I want to use this plum color. So I'm going to do that. And you'll notice in this particular sky, my darkest, heaviest color is actually at the bottom here. So I've got the red, and then the middle color is going to be the orange, and then the top, just a little bit, is the yellow. And that's because the yellow is the lightest, the red is the darkest, so it's at the bottom there. And that's just because it represents my sun. My sun is somewhere up here, as I imagined. So somewhere over there. So using that kind of logic, let's see. Although thinking about it now, wouldn't it be the opposite? You guys tell me. Might be the opposite. If the sunset is going down, maybe the yellow actually should have been here. Huh. Just thinking of that now. Anyway, you guys do it however you want to do it.
I like
I know, I had to like think about it out loud in order to like fully understand what I'd actually done. No, I know. You guys understand, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's yeah. See, this is like the perfect crowd for those little mistakes like that. Can't really blame that on Cogfog though. That was just me. Now I'm looking for 2 more of my colors. Let's see. I brought out that plum, but I want to figure out what else can I use. I found a crayon called Razzmatazz. I like it. It always helps to have like a little test piece of paper. Ooh, I'm using this one. So for me, I have Razzmatazz, which is that one, plum, and I'm just going to use orange. If I can find it. Here's my orange. Oh, even better. I have a scarlet. Even better. That works out nicely. Okay. So for this portion, I am going to start off with the easiest part. So it's going to be working small and then gradually making your lines a little bit bigger. So honestly, like I kind of kept in line with the waves just a little bit, but then they just kept stretching upward, upward and upward. Then they just started becoming a little bit more wavy every time I moved upward a little bit. I did have to stretch them a lot more as the space needed to be filled. And honestly, there's really no wrong or right way to do this portion. It's really just whatever your hand is able to do, whatever you can do. So you can start off small down here. Start off with one line at a time. You can make your lines a little bit shorter if you'd like. Now here, I started off at a single point there. Eventually, you're going to have a wave kind of in your way. So just watch out for that. And honestly, there's really no way to tell when to switch to the next color. Just whenever you get tired of that first color, you can just switch. So I'm kind of tired of this color, so I'm going to move into Scarlet. Now I know I mentioned my logic earlier with these colors. So I'm trying to switch that around. So I'm doing my lightest color in order. Lightest color down here. Now it makes sense, in terms of sunsets are going. It does help to have that scrap piece of paper and put all your colors next to each other just to see how they look. You can order them whichever way you'd like. So this would be closer to the sun. This is the furthest away from the sun, if that makes sense. Closer to the sun, furthest away from the sun. So for me, my next color is going to be razzmatazz. Just one line at a time. Maybe I'll kind of zigzag it a little bit. I'm just making this up on the spot. I don't know. I like that though. Zigzag it a little bit. Let's see, I can move on to my next color. Yeah, if you guys find other ways to do the lines in here, I would love to see them. Eventually, I did make my lines thicker, and you can use the same logic that you did with the waves if you want to. With this, it was pretty uniform throughout. So, I mean, with the exception of a few up here, but I did go back and I did thicken them up. I did add a few extra lines with colors crisscrossing one another. Now that's just me though. I really want you guys to get creative with it. I know that I mentioned the possibility of coloring in like each of these sections here. So if I were to do that, here's what it would look like. You can start off lightly. You can even alternate if I want to. I don't know. Let's see how that looks. Right now is really your chance to be creative with it. Do whatever you would like to do, whether that's follow the same pattern as this one or go and do your own thing. So I'm just going to alternate colors and see what happens. I'm still going to make these lines a little bit thicker in some places. That looks pretty nice. I do like that. Wonder if it would look like a zebra. Now this part right here at the edge was totally an accident. I just didn't really follow the line exactly, but I'm gonna keep it because I really like the way that looks. So happy accidents like that are welcome. Did anyone here ever watch Bob Ross when they were younger?
Was
I
what?
did.
Yes.
Bob Ross. I'm hearing yes, yeah. Me and my grandma used to watch Bob Ross all the time. Oh yeah, Brandy said she watched Bob Ross, yeah.
I still watch him. Sometimes I fall asleep looking at him because his voice is just so relaxing, but I adore him.
That's a good idea.
That's great. I love that. He
But
does have a very relaxing
There's
voice.
I have the Calm app and I use stories on it. They have kid stories to my daughter listens to him while she sleeps. But one of them was Bob Ross.
Oh man.
And him doing just the audio from him doing a tutorial for painting.
I love that. That's really cute. Oh, that's hilarious. I would love to see your daughter attempt to paint a Bob Ross painting. I honestly think she can do it. I do.
We'll have to try it sometime. She did her first attempt at a self-portrait, and I was really proud of her because I asked her what part of it she liked. She kind of, didn't really know quite what to do, but she said the nose. And I love that she identified the part that she thought she did the best on.
Oh, the nose. I'm gonna spotlight it so I can see. Oh, she really did do good on that.
Yeah, it is good.
I love it.
It was part of their homework assignment.
Oh, she did really good on the eyes too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Brandy says, I love Bob Ross. Oh, your mic won't work. Okay, gotcha. But Brandy slept to Bob Ross a lot in undergrad. Okay. Man, I feel like
Try it. It really is a lifesaver.
wow. I would never have known that had you guys not said anything.
It's one of those happy accidents, no pun intended.
Uh-huh.
But I was watching him and I just couldn't turn it off. So I just was like, God, this is so beautiful. And then the next thing I know, the sun was out and it was the next day. And I was like, oh my God, that was so therapeutic. Even though I wasn't painting, it was very helpful. So I love watching him, obviously, when I'm wide awake. But if I have to go to sleep and I just can't sleep, I'll just put Bob Ross on. But if you guys have Netflix, I would encourage you to look at the documentary that his son did on him. It's called Happy Accidents, and something about betrayal and greed. I was very surprised. It didn't ruin the image in my head of him. It actually made me admire him even more. But you guys should check it out. It's called Happy Accidents and something else if you have Netflix. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I'd heard of that documentary, but I hadn't seen it yet. So I'm gonna have to look that up. I honestly don't know very much about the man behind the happy trees. I've always told myself that one of these days, I'm gonna attempt to recreate one of his paintings. Just haven't done so yet.
Me either. I want to try it as well. So much of his stuff, it kind of makes you feel embarrassed to even put oil paint to canvas because he was just so amazing.
And he makes it look so easy, doesn't he?
Exactly. And then to do it in the time span that he did. I know that Bill Alexander started the Wet on Wet on TV, at least before Bob Ross did, but I admire both of them. They're amazing.
Yeah. Now, Bill Alexander, I think I have seen an episode of his. Was he the person who painted outside and literally did the painting or the picture that was in front of him? Was that him?
I think that if I remember correctly, his setup was similar to Bob Ross, but Bill Alexander was the polar opposite. He was very loud and kind of spoke very fast, whereas, you know, Bob Ross is like, well, I don't really want to I don't want to yell at anybody to paint with me. So I'm glad for that. But
That's great.
but he was, I think he took a few classes with Bill Alexander before going out on his own. But
Oh, gotcha.
and a lot of people don't know he's deceased. I was surprised to know that so many people didn't know that he was gone. Like, I have a few friends who are like, oh yeah, I watch Bob Ross all the time. And then I'll mention him in past tense and they're like, he's dead. And I'm like, yeah, he's
Aw.
been gone for a while. But sad.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty sad. No, yeah, no, I did not know that either. Well, guys, honestly, I didn't even realize it's 8:02 now.
Oh.
Time just flew. Would anyone like to share by now?
I'm done.
Yay! Okay, let me add you. There you are. There we go. I'm loving your color choices and your lines in your wave.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
those. You did so good with
Oh,
that.
nice. Thank
I
you.
know. Nice. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you. Yeah,
Super cool.
that was fun.
Merly. Yeah. Okay, Merly, I'm gonna add you. There we go. There we
Oh,
go. That is lovely.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. You're so kind. Oh, nice.
Man, especially I see all the dots that you added up there. And you decided to add the dots above the wave too, which is smart. I like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Super cool.
Well, thank you.
And your lines are undulating and crossing each other too in the sky. I like that. That's a nice touch.
I put it the dark, the red dark, the yellow, the orange, and the purple,
Crisscross.
and the blue. That's it getting dark.
I love it. Thank you, Merly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who else would like to share? Oh, Brandy, I see you holding yours up. Let me add Brandy real quick, and then Tony, I'll get to you. Here we go. Oh, there we go. That is nice. I'm loving like on your wave, I'm loving that you have a little extra line at the end, well, extra curve at the end. Super cool. Thank you, Brandy. Awesome. So let me go back to Tony. Awesome.
Oh, I like
that. That is what happens when you can use the pastels. I love that.
Wow. Cool.
It's so like the gradient between the lines and the space in between. It's so nice. It's so smooth. That is awesome. Did you use something to blend it?
Oh yeah, paper towel.
Paper towel. There you go. Nice. That was awesome. Thank you, Tony. Who else would like to share? Oh, yay, Elizabeth. Let me add you. All right. There you go. Oh, I love that. I love that you have different amounts of space between each little section, and the purple. That looks so pretty. I'm loving that. Oh, and you have a big piece of paper too. I think you're muted, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I love this sketch pad because it's XL.
Yeah, wow. That's a good size. That's a really good size. I love it though. Like you did so well on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really like and I can't remember what the painting is that the Japanese painting that you showed.
Yeah.
I love those little paws coming out of the waves.
Me too. They're the you you said it. It's a little curly cue. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, look.
No, I love that painting too. Yay! Who else would like to share? Brandy says, yep, need some pastels. Yeah. I feel like I need some pastels too, honestly. I would use some every once in a while at work when I'm working with patients, but mostly I would just give the whole package of pastels away to the patients, because usually people I work with, they love them so much, and so I just we just do little things here and there, and then I think I probably only have like 2 packages left, so not very much to work with.
Yeah, someone gave me some pastels once, but I haven't really used them. So I didn't really know what to do with them.
yeah. I guess that makes sense though, like not really knowing too much of what to do with them.
Yeah.
But I say experiment. Just have a day where you just kind of go crazy and do whatever with them. There we go. Finally, I'm done. Yay. All right, you guys. Well, dinner awaits me, so I may have to end our lovely meeting, but I absolutely loved chatting with you guys and doing this project with everyone. I will. Yeah, of course. I'm actually just real quick going to show you what next week's project is, as soon as I can find it. Give me just a second. Okay, here it is. So I've titled it, I think I titled it Watercolor Rocks, which of course you can use watercolors. However, you don't have to use watercolors. If you happen to have, let me figure out how to share my screen. If you happen to have some washable markers, you can use those too. Let me show you. Here we go. So I actually used Crayola's Crayola's just regular markers. So notice how it says washable right there. That means that you can basically use them as if they were watercolors. So you don't have to use watercolors with this one. But if you happen to have watercolors like you, Susie, then absolutely use that. I would love for you to use that. But these, if you just take a paintbrush to it, just put water on it, it will act just like watercolors. So, and honestly, even if you don't have any brushes at all, you can use a Q-tip too. So Q-tip, replace that with replace the brush for a Q-tip instead if you want to do it that way. So and then of course we let it dry for a little bit, so I'll probably go kind of fast on the watercolor portion because I want it to dry, and then after that we will put some pen on top of it too. We do want to make sure it's a non-bleeding pen, so I just use a regular ballpoint pen. And the reason I call it watercolor rocks is because it's actually those inspired by those glass rocks. you know, the ones that you can find from craft stores or even dollar stores. They come in like a small bag, and they're just glass, beautiful glass see-through rocks. That's what that is supposed to be. So I always thought I should probably paint those some of these days, one of these days, and I kind of did. So just wanted to show you that. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us next week.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
Last week I was sick, but today I'm
okay.
fine.
Okay, you're better now. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you for everything. So, and I see you next Monday.
Yes, yes. See you guys
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye.
Shirley, thank you for joining us.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Enjoy.